me to do some stand-up here?
I would love for you to come do this. Louis George, everybody.
Dave Chappelle would come back and we had a comedy festival
for
DC. I don't believe that government can't do more. And we just gotta support our own artists, man. Like I tell people, like when our people are on, we gotta ride for them. Like we gotta promote them, we gotta support them, because that's our own, you know, and like that's how we grow. Some of our friends to gun violence like every single day, but I felt as a leader I needed to see it. It's the reminder that if you don't show up and do better, this is the result, and it is our responsibility when that happens. It does stop at us.
What's up, everybody? Today we have a very special guest. Our guest today is a third-generation Washingtonian, daughter of a proud union postal worker, DC Public School and Howard University Law graduate, and she's Ward 4 Council member and DC Mayoral candidate. Janeese Lewis George, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. It's so cool to have you here at Room 808, Ward 4.
Yes.
You know, you have a lot of fans that be pulling up.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of supporters. We are now 2 weeks away, almost 2 weeks away from the elections. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. I mean, people already have ballots in their hands. Like Board of Elections told us like 8,000 people have already voted. So, you know, you're just, we're in this moment where you're making your final arguments. Everyone who's sort of indecisive, you got to make sure you talk to those voters. So we've been talking to a lot of seniors, talking to young people. We got to make it to every part of the ward, but just really proud. We've created such a broad coalition of support, over like 22 union endorsements, Sierra Club, Free DC, just so many great organizations. And we have the most DC donors out of every candidate. So it's just really like a grassroots effort here, and I'm just so proud of what I've been able to build in my hometown in this movement. There's
a lot of great energy behind your coalition. There's a lot of excitement. One thing I like about you is like, you know, you have great vibes, very positive.
Thank you.
And you've been able to reach like a younger Gen Z generation.
That's right.
What do you attribute that to? Like, what is it about, your campaign that's been able to tap into this youthful energy?
You know, I just think it's honesty, right? I mean, young people are just, like they don't have time for, plateaus. And they also are like tired of hearing about what government can't do, right? Everyone's always like, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. And our generation is like, yeah, I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that government can't do more. Yeah. I don't believe that with all the funding, for example, here in the city, like with a $20 billion budget, I don't believe we can't invest in youth, right? Mm-hmm. I don't believe that youth programs can't be here, that we can't have year-long programming for young people. And so I just think there's a notion now in this city, in this country, where people are really tired of the status quo talking about what they can't do, and they want to hear what government can do. And someone like me who entered government because I was, running for office because I was frustrated with it, I've been able to see, actually, you're absolutely right. Government can do more. It's really all about the people you put in positions of power, right, and the decisions they make with the policies and the funding that they have in front of them. And so it's a choice. And so I think young people are like, finally, someone is just naming the truth. It is a choice. Every decision government has made has been a choice, and we have an opportunity to elect leaders who see it a different way. And so I think my generation, we were sold this idea that like it all was going to trickle down, right? Like we're going to put money at the top and it's going to trickle down to you guys. You're going to get jobs and you're going to be able to buy homes. And we're like, yeah, no, it's not trickling and it's not going to trickle, right? And so we don't believe the notion anymore that funding is going to trickle down. We believe if you fund communities and small businesses and people, and those are the things that actually will grow communities and grow economies. And so, I think it's just really that energy, a generation who, when we were growing up, Martin, we were told like, look, y'all go to school, get a good education. Your good education is going to get you a good job, and that good job, you're going to be able to, build your American dream. And you have our generation, we did exactly that. Like we went to college, we went to grad school. Our generation has so many degrees. I know people who got MBAs, Janeese, doctorates. Right. Like we got the education and we're sitting here trying to figure out how we make way more than our parents made and yet are living off less, like literally. Right. And so it's that honesty in this moment and the reality that I have been telling people, like, I'm ready to make different choices and make different policies that actually benefit us and make it so that our generation and our parents' generation can actually afford to live in this city and be, just thrive in a real way,
Yeah. I just want to also say that, you said young people. I want to say also on the record, we're both young still, Janeese, all right?
Facts.
Yes. Young people, this like, hey, we still live in our,
Gen Z does make fun of me.
Yeah. But
but like in a positive way. They're
millennials.
all part of my campaign and they're like, okay, they make fun of how we do things, by the way. They're like, you guys love like doing your little your Insta FaceTimes and you guys talk too long so I didn't know. I had no idea millennials. We had some things about us that Gen Z has picked up on.
Yeah. What else have you learned? Like just dealing with Gen Z? Because I'm in comedy. I do a lot of touring and I also have a lot of Gen Z people coming to my shows. But I think we're like millennials are like the perfect hybrid of like old school and new school.
Yes.
We were alive when the internet wasn't even really like popping like that.
That's right. That's right.
And so we were forced to learn how to communicate, make eye contact, shake people's hands.
That's right.
But but also you know the TikTok trends.
That's right. That's right.
You got a cool team behind you.
Yeah,
man. It's really cool. I did a lot of research on you, and it's really impressive your resume and what you've been able to accomplish up until this moment. Like, where does that passion come from? Where does your drive? I know you're a local girl, Uptown, Kennedy Street.
Yeah, that's
Walk
right.
us through.
Kennedy Street, yeah. I tell people all the time, I think young people, and now that I have a son, I have a 19-month-old baby boy, I realize when my parents say, like, your children really just, like, are born with their own personalities, right? They're, like, who they are, and you just kind of cultivate that. And so I think at a young age, I remember I went to Rudolph Elementary up the street, and my third grade teacher was like, what do you think about being the mistress of ceremony for, like, the school assemblies, we're having some people come. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I'm excited. And I remember getting up there being like little old me, like, hi, it's Janeese Lewis, Rudolph Elementary, welcome to our school. So I was never afraid to like use my voice. But then it was like a lot of my Black women educators who really said, hey, you really have a voice. You care so deeply about people. You really should do more. So even in elementary school, I remember I was a DC Scores kid. I'm an OG DC Scores kid. And I remember just like using poetry and soccer and like how that came together to bring the Riggs Park community and the Kennedy Street community together because all of our schools merged. And I remember us fighting for a stop sign like at Hamilton, which is there now, by the way, which is great to see. Just like, so I've always had this calling on me to just like speak up if I felt like things were not what they should be. I remember I went to Deal for junior high school, and I tell people all the time, I remember when I first took the bus from the E2 Friendship Heights to Military Road to the M4 to get to Deal, and I was like, wait a minute, are we in the same city? And people were like, yeah, this is DC. And I've said, oh, yeah. And I started to just see it as a young age, like, okay, certain neighborhoods have certain things and other neighborhoods don't. And I thought, I feel something's wrong with that. You know what I mean? And that's I got involved as a young age. I was just like student representative on the Board of Education. Like, we need equity in our education. And so I think I've always had this thing where I just always wanted to speak up for people who don't have like the time and the energy and the privilege to be able to be at a council building lobbying, I think about my mom. She's a union postal worker. She had 3 kids. She was working nights, then having to work days. She had no idea what policies were being put in place at the council building, right? She had no idea. She didn't have the privilege to be tuned into local politics because she was surviving, right?
Of course.
And so when I think about things, I always am like, who's fighting and being the voice for the people who are just surviving, who are not tuned into what's happening, but deserve somebody to care about their quality of life and their quality of living. And that's really what's always motivated me to just say, all right, I know there's a group of people here who have money and power and can pay for lobbyists to advocate for them, but I know there's a whole subset of people who don't have lobbyists lobbying for them every day.
Sure.
And their experiences deserve to be heard. The way policies impacted them deserve to be considered. And that's how I really, decided to run for office anyway. Just like my mom lost our family home, when I came back from undergrad, I went to LA, then I came back home, and my mom was like, yeah, the rent's gone up. We can't afford to stay here. We got to go somewhere else.
What year was this?
This was in 2011.
Okay.
2011, yeah. And I had went out to LA, actually taught City Year. I don't know if you've heard of it. I was all into like the school to prison pipeline. How do we end it? So I actually ended up teaching out in Boyle Heights, East Los Angeles.
I know. I'm familiar. I got a lot of fans out there.
7th grade students, which is like 7th graders will humble you. But
rough area, a little rough.
Yeah,
little,
very like it was crazy because when I lived in LA,
high concentration of Mexican Americans.
That's right. My school body was 99% Mexican American, but it was crazy because at that time I lived in Koreatown. That was before K-Town was cool. Like in a 1-bedroom with my best friend.
We're in LA at the same time. I was there. I was there too.
Were you? Okay, so you know, so I literally remember I got on the bus. I think it was like the 720 every day. Got on the bus, rode past Hollywood, Pershing Square, past Skid Row, into Boyle Heights, East LA. And I was like, dang, it's crazy. The same, like we're on the West Coast, but the same thing exists. You get on a bus, you ride from one side of the city to the other side of the city, and you can see inequalities like plain as day, like of course, how it happens. And so I just think. Did
that impact you, like just seeing that the socioeconomic difference between Boyle Heights and West LA?
Oh yeah, it's just like I kept the same reoccurring theme just kept coming up. I think like just in life in general, just like there are communities that get invested in, there are communities that are safe, there are communities that have support, and then there's communities that get left behind. I think the biggest epiphany was like, oh, all of this is a choice. Like it's a choice that government makes, right? Where we put our funding, who we fund, who we listen to when policies are made. Who are we worried about being impacted? Like, are you worried about how residents are going to afford their Pepco bills? Or are you worried about Pepco executives getting the funds that they need? Like, are you worried about people being able to flip their houses? Or are you worried about people being able to survive and stay in their houses, right? It's just like, all of these are questions of like how policy impacts people's lives. And like, that's what I got a chance to see, not only like in my lived experience, but just like living here in DC, like, I remember like when we were fighting over paid family leave or wages for tip workers or TOPA rights, which is our tenant opportunity diversity act rights. Like that was the law that my family used to stay in our house because they were like, look, we're going to sell. We were like, great, we're going to buy, right? And that allowed us the opportunity to be able to have that first right to buy the house that we had invested dollars in. And then the city got rid of it, right? And I was like, dang, if you get rid of this, that means our generation, who many Black and brown families rented our homes for years, weren't able to get mortgages because of mortgage discrimination. Like, we're not going to be able to actually have that opportunity. And I was like, why would we take it away? And we did. And what happened? Over like 12,000 DC residents were displaced, predominantly Black and brown residents. So it's like this idea that disinvestment doesn't happen by chance. And displacement of Black DC residents, the mass gentrification that occurred, doesn't happen by chance. And that's the thing, like, we want our city to grow. We want it to prosper. I love like what has happened here. It's just that we also we can make a decision to have growth without displacement, right? Of course. Those are policy decisions.
You've seen it up close. I think a lot of people might not know, but can you walk us through Kennedy Street in the 90s, where you grew up, versus Kennedy Street in 2026, or even Petworth for that matter, right?
That's right.
Through your lens, describe, your street growing up, teenage years, early childhood, to people who might not be familiar with Kennedy Street uptown.
Yeah, so like up Kennedy Street, everybody used to refer to it as KDY. And, predominantly Black and brown families, actually. It was at a time where, there was a go-go song. It was like, don't ride through the KDY. And the reason why is because we had a lot of gun violence, that we went through, that we lost people, we lost people on our block, young people, right? Like, you're losing people your age who you look across the street. And I remember we lost this guy named Sean, who all of us, all the young girls, we all thought Sean was like the cutest guy ever, by the way. And so when like they were like, Sean got killed, we were like, what? Like, what happened to Sean? Yeah, no, literally, that's how we were. We were like, not Sean, like, truly.
That guy can go, but not Sean.
No. But you know what I mean? Like, he was like the cool guy on the block that all of us were like,
you're a young woman. Things affect you at different stages of your life.
So like, it's just like we lost people,
How did that affect
one
you?
of my neighbors, like her son, she lost 2 sons to gun violence, yet she's like the sweetest woman in the world. She's the person who bought me my comforter and sat in like a whole Marshall's gift bag when I went off to college, right? And so I think the backdrop of it is like Kennedy Street dealt with gun violence and public safety issues, but we also had like, we were also like a family, right? Like my neighbor was Mr. and Mrs. Wallace, who were like retired, like aging in place. Mr. Wallace had this silver Cadillac, pristine, like kept in the best shape, walked outside every day, sat in the Cadillac for an hour, like just turned it on. That's all he did. Went back in the house. Like that was his day. And if he moved it, you knew not to like park in Mr. Wallace's spot. You know, like my neighbor next door was Mr. Taylor, who was like a WMATA bus driver, which we thought was the cool, like he had the WMATA uniform on. He always, now I realize he always had heavy cologne. I'd be like, why does Mr. Taylor smell so good? But like, you know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where, and my seventh grade history teacher like actually lived across the street.
That's dope.
You know, you got my mom who's a postal worker. So you have these like strong, like, you know, middle class Black families who are trying to survive and thrive in this city. Like my mom is, you know, graduated from Cardozo, never graduated from college, but like was able to build a life for herself. Right. So like, you know, that was a really part of DC. And then we also had the fact that we were losing some of our friends to gun violence like every single day, whether it was on 1st and Kennedy or 5th and Kennedy, 7th and Kennedy, 8th and Kennedy. Like each part of Kennedy had their own, you know, sort of issues, you know, and we were beefing, you know, people were beefing around all neighborhoods, which now to this day, I'm always like, we were beefing over neighborhoods that we didn't even own, y'all. Like we lost lives, people fighting over street names that we don't even own. And then you look at Kennedy Street now, and I'm so proud, you know, it's been developed so much. I personally, as council member, took Kennedy Street on because I don't like the idea that all we could have was carry outs and liquor stores. You know what I mean? I was like, we're so much more than just carry out and liquor stores. And so we worked really hard to like revitalize Kennedy Street. Like, now we
shout out to La Coupe.
Yeah, we got La Coupe coffee on. Like
that's my spot right there.
You can get coffee.
Little bagelitos.
You got HR Records, like Char Chavis in his store every day Sunday. Charles across the street, like giving out ice cream, like cultivating. You got Ancho Pizza. Like now Kennedy Street is a place where you can come have coffee, where you could get some pizza, get some ice cream, go get an old record. Like that's what we really were, you know. But I had to fight government to make that happen. Like I literally had to get Office of Tax and Revenue, DCRA, now DOB. Like we had all these vacant and blighted properties. We actually had like one person who had bought up all the properties on Kennedy Street. And was just sitting on it because it was just like equity for them. And we pressed them out like, why are you sitting on these properties? Like you got our community looking vacant, blighted and all this stuff, and you collecting dollars. So we were like, Tax and Revenue, you need to like up the taxes on this person. Like, you know, you need to come out. They're not keeping their property looking good. He ended up selling off like majority of those properties, and then people bought them who actually developed housing, who actually put retail in them. So that's what I mean by like when people think about public safety, they're only thinking about MPD, but it's just like, no, every agency is responsible for public safety. Like we got graffitis on the wall. I'm like, DPW, can we get this off? Like this isn't representative of our community. And so now that we see Kennedy Street as a much safer community and a more vibrant corridor, we also want to make sure that the housing that gets built on it isn't housing that people can't afford to live in, because we're not building it just for new people to be here, but we're also building it for neighbors who lived here their whole lives to be able to afford to stay here now and enjoy the amenities that they always and the progress they knew Kennedy could afford. And I like that's the balance that I think is necessary. Like let's grow our communities, let's invest in our communities, let's create vibrant corridors like Upshur. But let's also make sure that we preserve, you know, our Black seniors and who deserve to stay here, like preserve family, and also make it so that our generation get to benefit from like the city that we have helped grow and cultivate, and don't have to make the decision to move and live out in Maryland or live out in Virginia or live in other states just because they're more affordable than our city.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's really important to state that like your experience in the 90s in Kennedy Street and being involved with the progress in 2026, and you know, your firsthand experience with like tragedy and trauma and seeing a lot of that gun violence and understanding that, because people do bring up like crime and how we address it. And I think that, you know, you're someone that has experience, you've seen it up close, and you have experience as a prosecutor. You know, you understand the system. You have like, you're not just someone just saying words. You know.
I've been on all sides. Like I've been in a community like strained with gun violence, and understanding the trauma. Like it's lifetime trauma that you go through when you hear when you hear gunshots at night, when you're not sure if those gunshots hit anybody, and if you're not sure if the gunshots that you heard hit someone, and if it hit someone you knew close, you know. Those are just things that you grapple with and deal with. Like my mom's like, all right, if y'all gonna walk to the corner store, I wanna make sure you're safe. Like having to decide, is it safe for our child to walk to the corner store? In other neighborhoods, no one's worried if their child is walking to the grocery store, right? So I've always felt like, and even when I became a prosecutor, was because I felt like we need safe communities. And I also felt like we needed people to understand where our young people are coming from and ways in which we could intervene and actually rehabilitate and try to save them before they become adults that then perpetuate even worse crimes later on. It starts somewhere. And if we can, when we see it start, you know, we can also intervene and help it stop. And so I always tell people, like, enforcement work and accountability is like critical for public safety. It's a non-negotiable. But intervention work and that prevention work is just as important, right? Because if we can get young people back in schools, like address chronic absenteeism, right? Then we got young people engaged in school. They're not on the streets. They're not participating in you know, very serious crimes. Like every time we see a young person who's participating in really like serious, like I'm talking carjackings and things, look at their attendance records. You'll see chronic absenteeism. They miss like days of school, you know? So the prevention work has to happen alongside the intervention work, has to happen alongside the accountability. And because as a former prosecutor, I had to do all three of those things. I get a chance to see it. But a couple of weeks ago, you know, I know two 12-year-olds were killed. And I went to both of their funerals, but one of the young guys, Milo, who was killed, I went to his funeral, and I had never seen a 12-year-old like in a casket. But I like felt as a leader, like you need to see it, because you need to see the reality of what it means if you fail these young people. Like this young boy who was just beautiful young boy, had so much potential. His family was obviously hurt. I also saw like young people coming into the funeral, like I'm talking like 50 young people, like walking past the casket, seeing their friend like in a casket, like, and I was just traumatized in myself of just being like, dang, this is another generation being traumatized by gun violence, and they don't even know how it's impacting them. But the normalization of it is happening to them even right now as they attend their friend's funeral. But until this day, I'm still traumatized by like seeing this young man in his casket. But I felt as a leader, I needed to see it because I wanted it to be the reminder, like it's now pierced in my mind. It's the reminder that if you don't show up and do better for our city and actually invest in our young people and stop the guns that are being trafficked into our city and do the enforcement work, this is the result. And it is our responsibility when that happens. It does stop at us and the systems we put in place to actually create systems of accountability and intervention and prevention.
And what were some of your inspirations, like politically? Like I read in a Washington Post article, Bernie Sanders was like, you know, you look to him as someone you looked up to in AOC. Do you have any other like some people that you really like look up to or respect? And
I mean, so I love. So I read autobiographies. People don't know that about me. It was like one of the things I like to do, and I love reading autobiographies about people who did like really just. Like transformative work. So for example, Ida B. Wells was like a Black journalist. She was covering like Black journalists. She was covering lynchings in the South in a time where like you were forbid to do that. And what people don't know about Ida B. Wells was that she was like very much a lady, like always wore dresses, like pinked out dresses. She always had like stuff on her in case somebody pulled up on her. So she also was like bold, but like she was intentionally like, I need to tell the stories of Black people being lynched in the South. And they have like bounds on her head. Like people were like, we have to catch her. But she was documenting in a time where it was scary to document what was happening. When I read her life story, I was just like, do you know how much courage it takes to go and cover stories that people are scared to cover, but to say it's important for history that these stories are told, and for her to put her own self on the line to tell the stories. Obviously, she ended up fleeing, ending up in Chicago, and people talk about her. But I think sometimes when people hear about like, oh, schools are named after people, these are people who have like outstanding amount of courage and selflessness to put themselves on the line to do that type of transformative work. So like Ida B. Wells, when I read her autobiography, like it blew me away because it was just like, and she talked about what it meant to do that. So I think about like historical leaders like her who just like, you know, really just stood up and did it. Like I think about current people like Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Yes.
Like Eleanor is a boss. Like for 30 plus years, she has been fighting the statehood fight here in the District of Columbia. She's had to take loss after loss, even when we got so close to getting statehood. And yet her like drive never left. Her courage never left her. Like the energy to actually fight for DC autonomy and statehood have never left her. Like she's someone who deserves reverence because she spoke about, and the people talk about statehood, but she also spoke about women's rights issues, labor rights issues. She was beating the drum about like paid family leave and you know, pre-K, universal pre-K. She doesn't get credit for it, but like there's just so many women leaders in our history. Mary McLeod Bethune, like these are people who dared to question the system and use their voices. So like those are like obvious inspirations, just like being courageous.
Do you see a little bit of them in you?
Yeah, I like to think that like,
because you're taking on a big, you know, a big role. It's a highly contested election, and right now, I personally think it's at a crossroads because we are right now facing the highest unemployment rate here in the country. The economy is not in the best shape. We are forcing a combative administration federally.
That's right.
And so, like, you know, where do you? It's tough as a DC resident. It's scary for us. Like, what can I'm trying to think. Like, what do you to say to like the small business owners that are like worried right now? Like about the future of the DC economy. Is there any type of reassurance or plan that you have to help small businesses here in the DC area?
Oh yeah. So I think I tell people all the time. Listen, we're gonna have to work with the administration. No matter if you're the mayor of DC or not, you have to work with this administration. And I say, but I also think that we have tools in our toolbox to do that, right? I'm looking forward to working with Attorney General Brian Schwab to use every legal tool we have to fight back for our administration, for this community, because it's important. And every time we've actually used our legal tools, we've been really effective. Like when they tried to federalize our police department, I was one of the only council members who showed up with Eleanor Holmes Norton, with Attorney General Brian Schwab. We fought back and we were able to actually, you know, stop our police department from being federalized. We're gonna have to build relationships in Congress. Because we know that we need to build relationships in Congress, because that's what's the only thing really protecting us is that we don't have 8 Democrats right now in the Senate who will vote with Republicans. But that could change. So we got to build our relationships. When we met with Hakeem Jeffries, he even told us, like, y'all need to be in Congress actually talking. And the number one thing I've heard when I've been walking the halls of Congress is like, this is the first time we're hearing from DC leadership. That can't be the case. So I'm talking about a mayoral office that has an executive office of the mayor that is going to be building relationships with Congress, and I'm going to walk the halls of myself to make the case for DC residents. But I also want DC residents to understand that, yes, we have been hit by the federal government. Yes, but we also have our strengths that we get to lean in on this moment. And I think we have some great strengths as a city. I believe that, one, we are a town with universities, as you know. We have some of the top universities in the country right here in DC, HU. And We get to use our universities to create innovation districts, to bring research and jobs into the city, and to leverage them to help us solve the problems we face in the city. Like University of Chicago has a data crime lab that helps Chicago MPD and public safety figure out how they do stuff, right? Like, so we know universities are the number one job creators in the city. We want to leverage that. We want to leverage our hospitals. Like Children's is like one of the best hospitals for research in the country. We want to use them to bring more research and innovation, more jobs, more people into the city. We are a sports town. Like nobody wants to talk about it, but like everyone talks about sports and us being a sports town. I agree we are. I think we're a women's sports town though. And I think we don't get enough credit for it. Like the Mystics, we had some great draft picks, as you know.
Yes.
I think our Mystics we're on the up and up. Spirit, as you know, is killing it. Trinity, Robin, we have so many great players. Like we should be playing up that we are a women's sports town. People have been talking about having like a women's hockey team, like our women football, flag football, like we're killing it. Let's lean in. We're a city of creatives, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, like we have the best comedians coming out of this city now, including you.
Speak
but
on
like,
it,
but truthfully, we've always been like Red Grid, Dave Chappelle, Regina Hall, Taraji P. Henson. Like, what are y'all talking about? DC has always been a town of creatives, music, arts, culture, like theater, comedy, like lean in. Like people, too many other jurisdictions get credit for what we created. So for me, I want people to know we have a plan for our economy. We're going to do a business economic development corporation that's going to have bonding and financing power to rebuild our downtown. We're going to lean in our strengths, and we're going to make it easier for small businesses. As you know, our businesses, it takes 2 years sometimes to get permits. Like I got Mary Penn on Georgia Avenue up there. I've been fighting with our DDOT administration just so they could have outdoor seating. Adito's Coffee on Second and Kennedy. Like been fighting to get an outdoor patio. We got businesses like La Tejana losing business because they got rid of streeteries, right? So for me, I want businesses to know, I want you to be here. I want to make it easier for you to be here. I want to get rid of all 5, 6, 7 agencies you got to deal with and have a one-stop shop for you. I want to reduce the amount of time, energy, re-permit fees, re-permitting that you have to do every year. Like make it easier for our small businesses. I want to make safer corridors so people want to come to your businesses because like public safety is an issue that impacts businesses. And I want to make sure that the city's investing in businesses being able to afford rents in our city because that's one of the issues why we lose people. And just invest in our main streets, our bids, and the organizations and do more things like we just had the other day. Petworth Porch Fest was about supporting artists and supporting small businesses. How many people we had over here? Thousands of people came here.
Talk about Porch Fest. I think Porch Fest is something that a lot of people outside the city might not know about. That's like really like popping right now. Can you talk about like what is Porch Fest? What's your role in Porch Fest, and how did it come about, and how big it's gotten in the past few years? Yeah. So again, this happened during the pandemic. Many of our creatives weren't getting booked because the venues were all closed. And as you know, because people were applying for unemployment, but when you're a gig worker, your unemployment differs, so you don't really get a large amount for unemployment. Right. So creatives were not able to, rent out art galleries. All of these things were happening, and people were in their houses suffering, right? Because people were just we're in the middle of a pandemic. So a few people, our Petworth Main Street, Uptown Main Street, everybody came together and was what can we do? We were why don't we just have people on their porches, right? So we're gonna invite bands to come out, do shows, we're gonna invite artists to have live art happening on the streets, and we're gonna encourage community members to come out to have their porches open freely so people can do it. We're gonna get people out of their homes, but outside in a safe space. And we're going to allow people to donate to our artists and our creatives who are, giving of their time and energy to display their art for the rest of us to see. So it really was, and we wanted community to come together in some real joy because it was a real down moment for us. So Petworth Porch Fest was really born out of the idea that we got to support our small businesses, we got to support our creatives, and that the safest communities are the communities that come together and actually convene with one another. So what started as a way to support artists and businesses during the pandemic has now grown into, we have over 450 bands and so much fun.
300 porches. Yeah. And now it's an opportunity again for bands to be, and musicians to actually share their art. We had like over 30 different genres of music, so like there was a space for everybody.
Yep.
And like that's what Petworth Porch Fest is about: bringing community together, supporting our small businesses, supporting our artists. And like everyone got to thrive. And like that's what the city can do more of across the city. Like we can cultivate the opportunities for small businesses and our creative community to actually thrive and have the funding they need. And like that's the stuff I'm excited to do. That's what we know works. Like Adams Morgan, like you remember growing up going down Adams Morgan, like just when we make the spaces, the people will come and everybody will thrive.
Is there a vision, Janeese, or programs you might have for artists in the city to, as you know, like I had to go to LA to get an agent and manager or to fund a lot of the operations I'm doing now. But I came back to DC because I believe in DC. Okay. I bought property here. I live in Petworth with my wife. We want to raise our family here in Petworth. Roommate Await's been in operations for 5 years, but all the young artists coming up right now, is there a vision for them to kind of like have a place in the city where they can pursue their arts and still be able to afford to live in the city? Is there any type of programs you might have, your team thought about in helping them?
So we're thinking about, first of all, using some of the vacant commercial spaces to actually create incubator spaces for artists in our city. For people to start up, for studio space for people to host their own, like young people host their own podcasts, record their, use some of our government spaces. Some of our libraries like MLK already have like studio spaces. Young people just don't know about it, but they could actually go utilize it. But we want to use commercial space. A lot of our small businesses, we want to create some ghost kitchens, right? So people can start and grow their clientele, and then that's how like La Tejana got started. They were in a ghost kitchen, and then they start going around the city just making like breakfast tacos. They created a client base, and then guess what? They were able to, by creating a client base, they were able to afford a brick and mortar. So we just want to like open up and use our government spaces, some of our commercial vacant spaces as hubs for people to like start, like have real startups. We also want to incentivize, like if you have a space like this and you say, actually, I want to open up my basement, right, to some young artists to utilize my space, or I want to open up a rooftop and rent it out to some of them. We want to incentivize through like tax breaks and tax incentives and grants and some forgiveness. If you're opening your space to others, that's a way for you to grow your business and them to grow their business, which is really impactful for the city. I want to bring back the mayor's office of nightlife and entertainment. Okay. So we have someone who's actually lead role it is to bring together the entertainment and nightlife community and to advise me as mayor on what type of grants do we need, right? Because like every time we make a grant, it might not fit the type of need the community needs, right? So we want the grants to actually fit the need of the community, and we can't do that without hearing and listening to the community. So the mayor's office of nightlife will be that hub where we bring together the small businesses, entertainment, nightlife community to say, how can the government support you? Our Arts and Humanities Commission does that work. We want to open the door for more grantees to be able to benefit from those grants. And so I say to the small business community, my goal is to make this a city of yes, right? Where we say yes to you wanting to be here and you feel like we want you to be here because we're making it easier, we're making it more affordable, and we're creating the spaces and opening the venues and cultivating what you need to be able to grow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have I got two of my team members here. I got Eric Barbalace, who's operations here at Roommate Away,
nice.
and I got Reek, the producer of the Martin Amini show. Eric had a question about he's a new DC homeowner, but he wanted to ask you some questions about. I'll let you take it from here, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Janeese. I appreciate you taking the time here. Like Martin said, I'm a new homeowner. I was able to purchase a home in Petworth a couple years ago. Been in DC about 10 years, so. Took a little bit to save up, but it feels great to, have officially call myself a homeowner. I think homeownership is and affordability in general are, big challenges for people in DC. And I think a lot of people want to call DC home, but it's difficult to do so. Yeah. What do you think can be done to help ease the cost of either homeownership or make that less of a hurdle, and then just make that complement being able to afford living in DC in general?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we have to build more housing because of the fact that if you build more, then you are making sure you have the supply of housing you need, which will bring down costs, right? So we know we got to build more. We know that we have to build more housing near areas of transit because it's helpful to create housing for working families there. We have two main sources of funding the city uses to create housing. Housing Production Trust Fund dollars are one of those dollars. And we as a city have to use those dollars, right? It's like $500 million we put into the Housing Production Trust Fund. And this is the idea that if we invest dollars, it's going to produce the affordable housing. We just haven't a lot of times enforced, right? Inclusionary zoning is another method we use, right? Where you have to have certain income levels of housing within certain buildings. So for me, it's a matter of, we don't have to create that as a new thing. We just have to make sure the dollars we're spending is actually creating the housing we asked for, which is multifamily housing, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, the type of housing we need to build. The city also has to take on deeply affordable housing. It's the hardest housing to build, and the market just can't do it alone, right? So we as a government have to step up and build that deeply affordable housing. Montgomery County is already doing it, so DC absolutely can do it, use some of those dollars. By the city stepping up to create deeply affordable housing, it also allows housing providers to actually focus on that middle income housing group that also is struggling for housing as well. The other thing is, we get a lot of federal dollars for housing from HUD, for example. We just don't get the money out the door, so we end up giving money back to the federal government just because we didn't get it out the door. So last year, we gave $34 million back to HUD that we could have utilized, right? So our HPAP, which is our main, home purchasing for first-time home buyers, we also have EPAP, which is the employment version of HPAP, which is employees who want to be first-time home buyers in the city. It's a system problem, actually. We just don't get the money out the door quick enough, and it takes months to do that. So our residents who are trying to be first-time home buyers actually just get skipped over because most sellers are like, I don't have time waiting for the district government to get money out the door and to go through this meaningless process. So they're choosing buyers who are not coming out of the government program. So my biggest goal is to leverage our federal dollars, get the systems, the people in place to actually get the money out the door faster so it's a dependable source, increase the supply so we bring down the market overall, and then government take on building deeply affordable housing across the board. And I think in those ways we'll make it easier for residents to be able to afford. But I know that many people who buy homes are also trying to build families. That's why I have a plan for universal access to childcare, so no family spending more than 7% of their income on childcare. By making childcare and utilities more affordable, we also make housing more affordable because those are dollars that you can use to go towards your mortgage or go towards your rent. So I'm looking at housing from the perspective of homeowners, renters in the city, actually creating predictability through rent stabilization so that the housing providers know what income they're going to have and renters know what income they need to be able to actually afford their rents. And I think by creating some real accountability, some real guardrails, and increasing the supply, we can create affordable housing in this city and make it so people stay here.
Great. Thank you.
All right. And we also have Reek. He's a DC native, heavy in the music scene, worked with Black Cobain and Wale.
Yes.
And he had some questions for you.
I'm a huge Wale fan. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to know your music taste too.
Yeah, during when I was a student at Howard Law, I only listened to Wale and J. Cole, and I went to school with Jermaine at St. John's.
Okay.
I knew him as Jermaine.
Yeah.
But he's J. Cole now, all cool now. But I listened to every day before I walked into, we had finals. I always listened to Wale going into finals, and he got a line. He's like, "Well wishes to my competition."
Hey,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
I walked into finals every year, hype. I had ambition, and when I was in law school, I was a waitress and I worked at Nordstrom Rack. So I'm not sleeping. I'm going to internships, doing class, whatever, and I'm just in a car they gonna love me for my ambition.
Let's go.
You know what I mean?
Where are you a waitress at?
Fire Station Restaurant in Silver Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had open mic there. I used to do their open mics.
Yeah.
Open mics.
The Old Bay wings were fire.
Yeah.
Like, I used to recommend the Old Bay wings to everybody because I used to survive.
That's crazy that you worked there.
I survived off Old Bay wings at. That's how I got through law school.
We were in the trenches.
Wale, Ambition, J. Cole, and J. Cole has this intro. It's like, when my story's told, let it be known I never fold, let it be known, like I would go in every day just like, so I tell people all the time, like, I know Tone P is, a huge producer, right? And I told Tone, like, I wouldn't have got my law degree if it wasn't for like that album. You produced the best album ever. I went into, I literally, I remember my crim law, I went in there, I got the highest score in the class because I was just like, listen, like, I'm on a mission, you know what I mean? Like, I'm on a mission for my community, my neighborhood. So, yeah. Anyways, Rap Janeese will come out later on.
Yeah. Listen. That time when we was creating those projects, especially that Ambition album, it was a magical time because we were at the forefront of trying to break something from here organically. And so we were up against those challenges, like Martin talked about, having to go other places and fight for our culture, fight for who we were to make our mark into, the industry. So what I wanted to ask was, like, speaking of the DC culture and who we are as natives, right? This city attracts a lot of people. Like, over the last 10 years, I'm gonna say, we've been seeing an influx of, like, all kinds of people, right? How do, or what do we do as natives working with administration how do we make sure we uphold DC culture? Things like Porch Fest, things like Mo Fest, things like
that's right
that the natives like are a part of, that the natives are born and bred and believe in. How do we uphold DC culture with all the newness, all the things that are coming in and out of the city, and make sure that the people that are coming here are taking part in the culture that's already here without trying to rewrite history of what's going on now, focusing in on what we have done and what we have built here?
Yeah. And, I think, like, it's our job to, like, elevate DC culture. Like that's what other jurisdictions do. Like, I was jealous. Roots Picnic just happened this weekend. I was like, what if DC had its own Roots Picnic? Like, we have our own artists to actually up Roots Picnic on our own, right? So it's just like MoFest, Home Rule Festival, like, when we are talking about attracting people to the city, we don't have to use outside, artists to attract people to the city. We have our own artists right here to attract people to our city. So to me, it's about, like, I actually ended up doing a Petworth emergency bill to actually allow Petworth Porch Fest to happen, because the city often makes it really hard for people to put together, like, block parties and festivals. Like, you got to spend like $10,000 even when they're trying to do it for free. Like, a lot of our community, like Mocha, all these, like, MoFest, all these people, our artists are like, we'll do it for free, and the city will be like, great, I know you're doing it for free, but you got to pay us this $10,000 just to have cars here. And, it's just like, I just feel like as a city, it's our role to elevate our culture, our music, our artists. And we do that by using the funding we have when we're doing events. I also want to put events back in neighborhoods. We took a lot of neighborhood events and put them downtown, right? So, for example, like Caribbean Fest used to be uptown because we are known for, we got the largest Caribbean community across the board. We know that, we're proud of it, but, like, now everything is always like downtown on the National Mall, right? Even Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant used to always have the Independence Day, like Independence Festival or something. And, like, we took that, put it downtown. Like, it's just like, like, bring back, I was telling somebody, like, bring back, like, the culture within the neighborhoods that, like, cultivated it, and allow those things to happen in those neighborhoods and communities, because that just supports, like, the small businesses in the area. So yeah, I just want to see us, like, putting our own artists on, like, we have DC Cable Television, we got 202 Creates. Like, these are great. I think these are great. I want to use 202 Creates to really, like, elevate our young artists who are coming up. We got generations of new young go-go artists, bands who want to be put on too, like, put on some of our go-go bands, like, when we bring artists here, make them have to, like, work with our people, like, and just I think we have to be the ones really to just create the opportunity for ourselves. And I think as a city, we sort of, that's what I was saying, like we sort of downplay our arts, our music, our culture, when like we're the OGs of it for real. Like, I mean, my mom and dad grew up on 13th and T Street across the street from each other, you know what I mean? And they remember when like U Street was like Black Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My
like,
mom talk about that all the time.
You know what I mean? Like that's how they grew up. They remember like the White Law Hotel where all the like, artists used to stay, So like, come on, DC. Like, let's start leaning back into what makes us great. Like, we don't gotta like, like I'm not hating on Philly and NYC because they got their stuff, but we do too. And LA always California puts puts their artists on. Like,
they do.
You go to the Bay, it's Bay artists. You know what I mean? You go to LA, it's LA artists, right? So like DC, let's start doing that work. That's what I want to see. And we got to start showing love and showing value for ourselves, honestly.
So I got another question for you because you're an Uptown girl, right?
Yeah.
So I need to know, who's your favorite go-go band?
Oh my God.
I gotta hear it. I need to know, you're an Uptown girl. I know I'm making you make a decision. What's your favorite band?
I'm gonna get in trouble.
This is, it's official music of the city. What's your favorite band?
It's the CCB roll call.
Oh, I didn't think you was going to go there.
Yeah, roll call. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And let's follow that one up. Favorite venue to go to the go-go coming up? When you was coming up, what was your favorite venue?
Oh my goodness.
I saw a picture of you. You dropped a picture recently of you at the
No,
go-go.
I was trying to let people know. Like, we used to be in the Mad Chef. We used to be in, so what's funny is like my sister's like 14 years older than me. Both of my sisters, they're gonna kill me. So when I was younger, like because they both went to Roosevelt and Wilson, now Jackson Reed, they used to go to the Ibex. Ibex was closed by time I grew up, right? But I remember dropping my sister off at the Ibex on the corner. But for us, we went to I would just say like Mad Chef. We used to go there all the time. Gonzaga used to have the blackouts.
Go-Go's at the school.
Go-Go at the schools.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff I'm talking about bringing back, right? We used to have Go-Go's at the schools, so I always went to the blackouts at Gonzaga because they also had the cute guys, But that's how it was. I was like, we going to Gonzaga for the blackout. What else? Man, people don't know. Our generation, we just got to live. Like, we had dream, then we had love. We was living on a different scale. I remember Fur used to have foam parties.
Yeah.
I was like, why did our parents let us go to foam parties? Like, what are we doing? Anyway, DC youth used to just have things to do. Like, that's the stuff I want to bring back because we had real functions. So I'm glad we're doing some of that. Like Shanklin Hall. They just, some of my friends, we grew up, they created this space because they were like, yeah, man, I want us to bring back those spaces like we used to have. Diet Starts Monday used to be the move, right? Like, we got to bring back, like, the spaces that we create for ourselves, by ourselves. So I'm glad to see, like, our generation is trying to take that stuff on. But, yeah, man, I don't know why our families let us just be out here doing all this stuff. But I was like, we probably should not have, been on 4 levels of love back in the day. You remember they used to have overachievers? You remember?
Yeah, overachiever parties.
The overachiever parties.
Yeah.
This was wild. It was a great time to
be.
It
was an era.
Our era really knew how to cultivate and create good times, and we really did it.
Have you heard the new Lizzo track, the remix of Sexy Ladies?
I did.
What you think about it?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it. One of my good friends, Shantae Van, she and I went to church together, was in NYC together. We laugh at each other now because she said, you always said you were going to step up and like lead in our city. And I said, you always said you were going to be like a world-renowned dancer. And she's one of Lizzo's dancers.
Really?
Yeah. And so she put Lizzo on, actually. Shantae did. We call her Tay-Tay. Tay-Tay put Lizzo on to go-go music, and she just loved it and vibed with it. So it was a beautiful thing. And then when she did her video, she had the Madness gear on. As you know, Madness is like an uptown brand.
Of course.
So shout out to them. So... and Sade, her sister, always does styling work. So it's just like, it's all, that's what I mean. Like, you got DC people putting DC on the map, like just through their own artistry, like one a dancer, one a stylist, but like putting other artists on. And when artists get put on in DC, they love it. Like Jill Scott, we love Jilly.
Yes.
Like Jilly from Philly, but Jilly also DC. We claim her now because she just vibes with DC. She's like, y'all know art, y'all know culture, y'all know music. She love go-go. So it's just like, that's what I mean. We got good people. When our people do that, like, when Amini put out, it's this one thing, you know what I mean? Like, people rock with
we need more.
The soul of that. So we also need just more artists who are willing to come and get this DC sound and DC feel. And that allows us to put DC on the national scale like we used to be. And we just got to support our own artists, man. Like I tell people like, DC, we be so hard on ourselves. Like DC, stop being so hard on your folks. Like, we so critical. Like when our people are on, we got to ride for them. Like we got to promote them. We got to support them because that's our own, and like that's how we grow. So that's the love.
If the Roots Picnic in Philly just happened, if we were to bring our own version of it in DC, what would be your dream musical lineup?
What kind of spot are you putting me on? No, I just want to, I love it. I love the question. Well, obviously, I'm going to say.
This is the dream list. You could choose anyone.
Okay.
Who's on the Janeese Lewis George playlist, who had an impact on you?
Well, if we're gonna do Roots Picnic here, we gotta have band. We should have like our go-go bands first and foremost.
Right.
Like we gotta put go-go on the stage. It can't just be hip hop.
Yeah, house band like Roots vibes, but the DC version.
Yeah. So I want us to do have our own backroom band now. I don't know who get to do it, because it's between you may want Backyard, you may want TCB. You may want the Mumbo Sauce Band. They know how to do it. Black Alley. We got some bands who know how to rock. So I would want to see TCB, the Black Alley Band, Mumbo Sauce Band, UCB, CCB, Backyard, of course. Just a whole. We need a go-go stage. Pretty much a go-go stage where we have homegrown DC bands, and then we put some of the new young guys on who trying to up and come be bands because I want to put some of them on. I think we put some of our R&B artists, come on, let's bring, Maya, you know what I mean? We got to have Amini come back, show them how it's done. Our generation of just young musicians. Who else? Obviously Wale, obviously, who else we want? Do you want it all DC or
no,
just
it could be people affiliated with the city,
I mean.
Ari Lennox, Corday.
Ari Lennox, definitely. That's what I mean. Our own R&B artists. That's the same thing. We got to support our bands. We got to support our R&B artists when they on the top. Ari is amazing. She's so dope, and she loves the city so much. So I want to see Ari. I think we should have some of our comedians too, though.
Oh yeah,
we need a comedy stage.
Oh yeah.
So you got to go on the comedy stage.
We need a comedy festival.
We do need a comedy festival.
That would be amazing.
I agree. I actually like this idea. Let's
Is this
make it
gonna
happen.
be your first order?
Martin, get this comedy stuff together because DC has just some of the most amazing comedians across the board. So we got to have women comedians too.
Of course, a lot of history, a lot of great talent here. This sounds like a cool festival. I'm already trying to buy tickets.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle would come back if we had a comedy festival for DC. He just comes back.
Are you a fan of the Front Porch?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm just a fan of just I love authenticity across the board. And when I feel people this is what I love about DC is everybody comes to their art from such an authentic place and people feel it. And then that's how you get that national feel to it. So I would love to see us just really lean in on that in a real way. Man,
well, we appreciate your time. We have two last questions for you. What message do you have for the undecided voters in this upcoming election?
You know what? I would say that this race is really about who do you trust in this moment to show up for all residents in all 8 wards in the city. And I think you make that decision by who has shown up, who has shown moral clarity and courage, and who has been in every part of the city fighting, whether it be for our young people, whether it be for our small businesses, whether it be for our faith communities, whoever it is. Like, I have been a real fighter for the people of our city and I do it out of the space of love. And I think this is a moment, y'all. Like, this is a moment, not only in our country, but a moment in our city where we don't have to have a politics of government that tells you what they can't do. What if you had a government that told you what they could do and showed you what they could do and made different decisions about what they can do? And the only thing keeping people back from achieving that type of government is the tactic of fear that gets you used, right? So people are like, oh, well, if we change, what would that mean? Like, you know, I'm scared. I'm scared about this. I'm scared about that, right? Like, fear is a tactic. You know what I mean? And that has been the underlying thing. Well, nah, like, don't do it because you know, what if this happened? What if that happened? I want y'all to know that I have the best interests of DC always. Our public safety, our businesses, our workers, our artists, our communities. You know what I mean? And like, that's what this moment is about. Like, it's not about what we can't do, it's about what we can do. And so my message to people is go to the polls, vote from a space, not of fear, but a space of hope, a space of change, a space of resilience, and a space of it's about damn time. Yeah.
And last one. All right, here we go. Imagine the kids growing up in Ward 4 right now, 20 years from now. What do you hope they say about the city they grew up in?
I hope they say what I said. You know, I hope they say, man, we always had things to do like we did, right? Like, I tell people I was in Upward Bound, DC scores, higher achievement. Like, summer youth employment, I was standing on the line at Mary's to get my EBT card. We didn't lack like opportunity and spaces to be, like, we got to really lean into being ourselves and enjoying ourselves. So I want young people to have the same story I had, which was like, yeah, like, we did everything. We had all this stuff. Like, people are amazed when they come to DC and they just hear about how we grew up. So I want young people to feel like they were invested in, they were supported, and they got a chance to figure out who they were because the opportunities were endless and boundless for them. I want people to say they were able to, like, grow a family here. Like, think about it. My mom being a postal worker, that's a blue collar job, but look what she was able to build. Like, look, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, her daughter graduated, I'm first generation to graduate from college, first to be a lawyer in my family. Like, I always tell my mom, you did that. Like, and you did that because this city made it a place where people could have good jobs, make good wages, and build life for their families. Like, the Black middle class in DC is so robust. That wasn't intentional. I mean, that wasn't not intentional. That was intentional work of investing in people and paying them fair wages and giving them health benefits and support. So, like, I just want people to say, no matter who I was or what area of the city I lived in, I had opportunity. I just think about, like, Marion Barry legacy is that, like, how dope is it for me to be able to say, man, I had my first summer job because of Marion Barry, right? To people to say, like, I changed my life. You know, I might have been, like, you know, one of my family members was like, yeah, man, we dealt with the struggles of the 70s and 80s and drug abuse, but I was able to change my life because there was programs that dealt with drug abuse and supported returning citizens. And you know what I mean? Like, so I just say, I want to have that same impact as mayor. I want young people to say, man, I had my first job. I got my associate's degree in college because she made it so universities gave young people opportunity. That's how I think about it now. Like, I want people to say, like, our family started a small business and now I'm the third in my family to have this small, like Flowers by Alexis. How dope is it, right? That she has, her grandfather had a business and now she has a business. That's what you want to be able to say. You built, you grew, and to be a part of that legacy. Like, I changed people's lives because of the policies, decisions I made and the investments I made. That's what I want at the end of the day.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah. June 16th.
Yeah.
Don't forget, all right? It's a big election. You heard it here first. Janeese Lewis George, we thank you for coming to Room 808 and spending time with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you again
Thank you.
soon.
Are you going to allow me to do some stand-up here?
I would love for you to come do some stand-up here.
I had my first bit a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, where was that? Where was it? Nick's Pizza.
Yeah, we were like, how come you didn't come to Room 808?
I know. I said that to my team. I was like, why we didn't do the 808 room? They ain't hit you up. It was that was their bad, not my bad.
We're gonna have to,
I'm ready for my stand-up comedy.
We gotta correct that. Next time you pull up to 808, we'll make sure, like, we'll get you on TikTok and YouTube. you know, and we'll do
I've
some
been
crowd.
writing. I've been writing.
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
writing.
All right. All right, man. Janeese Lewis
I've
George,
signed
man.
myself
Thank
up
you
for
so
this.
much, man.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, let's get it. Never met another that could do it like I did it. First things first, I secured the bag. I'm so fly and my jet don't lag. I get to the bag every single day. 25/8 on the go, on the lay. No delay. I always get my way and I look so good. I be looking like that.